my hair is trash. Yeah, trash hair. Gotta go with the hat. Dorky ass sunglasses. Oh, that's fire. Bam. Okay. We are live here talking about the new Nikon mirrorless cameras that are getting announced today. All chat. I got all chat visible. We are talking about the newly announced Nikon cameras. We're going to go ahead and pull up Nikon rumors. Let's see what we have on Nikon.com. Okay, so as of right now, we don't have anything for Nikon USA. Special event live stream. Okay, we got the live stream going on right now for the new Nikon event.
To this Z mount system. In addition, we have maintained compatibility with F-mount lenses and DSLR accessories, which are symbols of Nikon quality.
Okay, so it seems like with
this means customers
the new Nikon adapter that they're going to have along. By the way, I'm watching the Nikon live stream right now. If you guys go to nikonusa.com, you can pull it up. I'm in Vietnam, so it's essentially the same time. Let's go ahead and get headphones. If you guys want to go ahead.
In resolution from 2K to 4K and now 8K.
Okay, so we're going to have 8K time-lapse, 4K video.
Resolution videos are also increasing. So images are becoming more vibrant and more realistic. The Z mount system is ready for such advances in the future, by allowing high-speed and large-volume communication between the lens and body.
So it
this
seems
will continue to offer strong support as the ways we make images change.
Okay. Comment, would you guys...
A new dimension in optical performance. Inherited on quality.
Would you guys rather be able to hear the live stream off of this? Do you want to be able to see the live stream? Go ahead and comment that in the live chat for what you would rather see. If you guys would rather be seeing me or the live stream. Or actually, let's go ahead. Would you rather have that? Hold on a second. Both. Okay, here we go with the live stream. I guess this is what these little loom cubes are for. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. No, I know, it's still trash. Okay, so now they're talking about some business strategies in regards to their, I guess, if they're going to keep on doing mirrorless and kind of what the future of mirrorless versus DSLR is, at least for the Nikon business plan. Oh, there we go. That is money. Ooh! Oh, see? Okay. Uh, we got the Nikon live stream going right now. And we are simultaneously doing a live stream. Now we're talking. Okay. If I dim this? Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're watching the Nikon live stream. And at this point, they're talking about how they're going to continue to make both traditional DSLRs as well as mirrorless cameras. It seems as if, in regards to mount compatibility between the F mount glass as well as the new Z mount glass, they engineered the Z mount with a few specific characteristics in mind, including backwards compatibility and use with yeah, so this is live streaming specifically on the Nikon website. And it seems like there is a break right now. Special event live streaming. Yeah, and this is the live stream. Okay. Yeah, so the link off Nikon Rumors, same one that we got. Now, I want you guys to comment because I would like to know what you're expecting out of this. Right now, there's a pause in the broadcast, so I want to take that opportunity to interact with some of you guys, and I want to hear some of your opinions as to what you think Nikon's doing. At this point, honestly, guys, right now, being that I switched to Sony and I love Sony, right? This camera, okay, the A6500 has totally changed. It's completely changed the way I take pictures and the spontaneity of doing it. And the closest way I can compare the two is when I took a break from shooting Nikon to shoot mirrorless. And I don't know if it's necessarily characteristics of a mirrorless camera or something that is smaller in size and then using prime lenses with that. While I could totally do that using compact 1.8 primes, on a, I guess, Nikon full frame system. Just the fact, this is a 24 millimeter, like 1.8 equivalent, or 24 f2 equivalent, on a full frame camera, and this is the Sigma 16 millimeter 1.4 on a Sony A6500, and this thing rocks, guys. I love the APS-C form factor, but, and I've talked about this in the past, and so people call me a Sony fanboy. Some people have called me a Nikon hater, and I think while we have this break right now in the live stream, I want to just talk about like kind of my photography history, so you guys get an idea of where I'm speaking from and what I've done. So I got introduced to photography at the age of 12 to 14 by my father, who shot Minolta film. I got to develop X-rays with my dad next to him in the dark room, because he was a chiropractor, and so we had these big pieces of film to develop. Okay, guys, really quick, we're on a break right now, which is why I'm talking about my history, at least, with photography and the cameras I've used, because I'm getting accused of being a Sony fanboy and a Nikon hater and a bunch of other things, right? So let's just put that to rest. Okay, fast forward to my first time using digital cameras. I shot with a Nikon. It was in high school. I was in a photography class, or an advanced photography class, and I was shooting with a D70S, right, back in the day, and I think we had some kit lenses to go along with that, and I shot with that camera for like a year and a half, 2 years. Just was not really cutting it for myself. Actually, one of them got stolen out of my car that was property of the school, and nothing actually ever happened to me. Okay, we have the vice president speaking. Okay, if there's anything to note, I'll clue you guys in. But after that, I had a D200 from Nikon, and a bunch of like 16 or 18 to 55 or 18 to 70, like f3.5 to 4.5 glass, which was phenomenal at the time. D200, great camera. Sold it, bought a really shady Nikon D7000 for like $500, brand new, in a parking lot at like midnight in LA, which was way too cheap for what the camera should have cost at the time. Loved the D7000, shot that camera for like 3 years, shot a wedding with it, had the phenomenal Nikon. Okay, so right now what you guys are or what they're talking about is the flange geometry. All this stuff has been readily available on websites, on Nikon rumors, and everything else. But guys, I want to see the chat. What are you guys talking about? I want to know. I want to know from you guys what you think about this. Okay, so the Z7 has just been officially announced. The Z7 is a 45 megapixel or 45.7 megapixel mirrorless camera. So the Nikon AF system is contrast detect as well as phase detect hybrid. The Z7 will have 493 autofocus points, covering 90% of the sensor. We can go ahead and... Okay, the Z6, which is the camera that's more or less aimed at the A7 III. Wow, okay, so the Z6 will shoot 12 frames a second. And it's 273 AF points. Okay, now we're talking about. So there's a new Nikon imaging engine, and it's gonna what they're trying to say in layman's terms for you guys is Nikon's got some new imaging software and algorithms, and it's more or less new Nikon color science. Wow, okay. We have 5 stops of internal image stabilization. 5 stops. And that is that I mean that is really big news, guys. The fact okay, now we're talking video. Wow! And I talked about this, that this was on my wish list for Nikon, which was 10-bit out via uncompressed HDMI and with a full N-Log. And that is huge. That is really, really big. The fact that you're going to be able to have phenomenal in-body 4K recording footage. I want to see. Okay, so the things that were just announced in regards to the moving recording capabilities, and this is what I talked about was really high on my wish list for these new Nikon cameras, and that was the Nikon taking video seriously, basically. Sorry, I'm at a little bit of lost words. It's kind of distracting, but the fact that we're gonna have 4K full frame HD video in Nikon's new N-Log, which from what I saw on my screen, looks super flat. Looks super flat. The entire chassis, entire like control and interface points of the camera are metal, and this is huge. Also, in regards to the Nikon primes, Nikon basically announced that with their development of these prime lenses for the new Nikon Z system, one of their biggest emphasis, or one of the biggest things that they emphasized with the development of these prime lenses was reduced focus breathing. So prime lenses that are going to be relatively compact, being like the 1.8 speed, with in-body image stabilization on the camera and reduced focus breathing. It's at least for video. Those are signs to me that Nikon is taking video super seriously, and they want to go ahead and kind of dominate the market at this point with kind of not a return of dominance, but now we're talking about video capabilities, or they're showing a little commercial for it, and it's 10-bit HDMI out, 8K time-lapse movies. And at least to me, as someone who left Nikon for Sony and who absolutely loves his A6500, right? An announcement like this, okay, from Nikon, to someone who used to have a bunch of pretty nice Nikon glass, okay, to me is enough to make me regret selling my Nikon gear and making the switch to Sony. I'll come right out and say that. Uh, for the reason alone, okay, that the future of Nikon, maybe these cameras right now, okay, and this is something that I've been harping on and about Canon for a long time, and people absolutely hate me ranting about Canon, and there's tons of fucking fanboys in. Okay, by the way, hold on a second. The resolution of the EVF, I think it was quad VGA. Yeah, so the resolution of the viewfinder is quad VGA. Okay, these are the lenses that have already been announced. We're gonna have a 24-70 f4, 35 1.8, 50 1.8. Which is really similar to what Sony had. Again, I'll stand by what I said, that Nikon looked at Sony, and Nikon is copying their business approach, business model for how they want to do mirrorless. And this is just talking about the lenses. I'd be interested to see what the weight of these is going to be, if Nikon is taking the weight seriously. But to someone who sold all of their Nikon gear to switch to Sony, I don't regret selling it for other reasons necessarily, at least in regards to size and weight. Although this is chunky, right? My A6500 and my 16 millimeter. They're also saying that the 24-70 f4 allows you to control iris with like smooth adjustment, specifically for movie making. So with this redesign of the mount, they're engineered this mount with a big emphasis on video, I guess, capability. Do you guys want to hear the stream?
F1.8S realizes quiet but fast and highly accurate AF with consideration for movie recording. It employs multi-focusing system and demonstrates superb imaging, whether at infinity or close-up. The Nikon Z 50mm f1.8S delivers incredible resolution by drastically minimizing axial chromatic aberration. In addition, it renders smooth, beautiful bokeh even at close shooting distances.
This is just talking about the 50mm
adopted high torque stepping mounter
1.8.
and the new mount allows increased flexibility in the optical system and optimization of the focus lens group. It has greatly elevated the optical and AF performance. With Nikon Z, we are introducing a new grade, the S line.
Okay, I talked about this in my other
This
YouTube video.
title is reserved only for lenses that have cleared even more rigorous standards for evaluating factors like MTF performance, as well as stricter quality control standards. All S-line lenses incorporate the nanocrystal coat. The three lenses introduced today are all S-line lenses. And lastly, I'd like to mention the Nikon Z 58mm f0.95S Noct.
Okay.
The pinnacle of the S-line lenses currently in development. With this lens, our engineers are trying to achieve an unprecedented level of optical performance, which symbolizes the Z-mount system. This lens offers
So the 58mm, in this case,
the fastest in Nikon's history.
the 0.59 58mm Noct is going to be like Nikon's Halo lens that they're going to use to kind of evaluate what the image mount is capable of, right? Because for Nikon to be able, here we have a
To
lens.
expand the Nikon Z lineup in 2019 and beyond.
Okay, so whoa. Okay, so we have a roadmap right now of lenses, And in 2019, we are going to see the 58 millimeter 0.95. We're going to see a 20 millimeter 1.8. We're going to see an 85 millimeter 1.8. These are all things I'm excited to see. A 24 to 70 and a 70 to 200 2.8, and then a 14 to 30 millimeter f4. Interesting decisions on lenses. The 85 millimeter f1.8. I have the 85 millimeter 1.8 from Sony, which is for full frame. Okay, and just to give you an idea, size and weight. Now this is the full frame Sony 85 millimeter 1.8. It's one of the better lenses from Sony. Size and weight wise, it's chunky, right? But if Nikon can bring something at this weight or better, call me. Next up, we got a 50 millimeter 1.2. We have a 24 millimeter 1.8. And then a 14 to 24 2.8. So Nikon is really coming with a super interesting selection of lenses, and I'll read them to you guys one more time. If you guys want to go ahead and let me know the lenses you're most excited for. We have a 35 1.8, 50 millimeter 1.8, 24 to 70 f4. In 2019, there's going to be a 58.95, a 21.8, an 85 1.8, a 24 to 70 2.8, a 70 to 200 2.8, a 14 to 30 f4, and then in 2020 we're going to have a 51.2, a 24.18, and a 14 to 24 2.8. All for the Z mount system. I am
f1.8 single focal length lenses. We will release an ultra-wide zoom lens at f4, which suits landscape photography. There will be 3 f2.8 zoom lenses, a type which is popular among professionals. And we'll start an f1.2 lens series, taking advantage of the large diameter mount.
So Nikon's going to be bringing a 1.2.
Lens lineup. The Z-mount system provides access to Nikkor F lenses via the dedicated mount adapter FTC, ensuring compatibility with approximately 360 lenses. This enables you to enjoy the unique characteristics of a wide variety of lenses. In the meantime, Nikon will continue to expand the variety of Nikkor F lenses. One example is the AFS Nikkor 500.
So while Nikon is developing these mirrorless lenses, they're also going to be basically developing their F-mount glass. And Nikon just announced their 500-5.6.
Of PF lens elements, it offers great agility by allowing handheld shooting. The weight is about half that of other lenses in this class, but offers great optical performance and subject acquisition. It can be paired with Z-series bodies via the mount adapter, allowing you compact, lightweight, super telephoto photography.
So they just boasted about the ability to mount this new 500mm 5.6 f with their Z series of cameras, which is interesting. I find that really interesting.
High image quality and reliability for a wide range of customers, including professionals, to use with confidence. As a new platform, the Z-mount system strives to future-proof image making going forward. Discover a new world of photography with the unique optical performance of the Z-mount system.
Okay, we got another break.
The 7 body is scheduled to be released around the end of September 2018.
So these bodies are going to be available September.
An estimated retail price will be around 440,000 Japanese yen including tax. Around 440,000 Japanese yen including tax. Nikon Mirrorless camera Z6 body is scheduled to be released around the end of November 2018. Price price is open price. An estimated retail price will be around 270,000 Japanese yen, including tax. Around 270,000 Japanese yen, including tax. Next is interchangeable lens and mount adapter. Nikon Z24 17mm f4s is scheduled to be released around the end of September 2018.
So Nikon's going to be bringing these cameras to market September this year.
136,500 Japanese yen excluding tax. 136,500 Japanese yen excluding tax. Nikon Z35mm f1.8s is scheduled to be released around the end of September 2018. Suggested retail price will be 14,000 Japanese yen excluding tax.
Okay, we got the price announcement.
1,000 Japanese yen excluding tax. Nikon Z50mm f1.8s is scheduled to be released around the end of October 2018.
Okay, so the 50mm will be out in October.
Retail price will be 83,500 Japanese yen excluding tax. 83,500 Japanese yen excluding tax.
Okay, the 50mm 1.8 that's coming at the end of October is going to be $750 approximately, and that's before any tariffs.
36,500 Japanese yen excluding tax. 36,500 Japanese yen excluding tax. Lastly, AFS Nikon 500mm suggested retail price will be 104. Nikon Z24 7,000 Japanese yen excluding tax. 104. Mount adapter FTZ
Okay, and
is scheduled to be released around the end of
okay, the
September
adapter is going to
2018.
cost.
Suggested retail price will be 36,500 Japanese yen excluding tax. 36,500 Japanese yen excluding tax. Lastly, AFS Nikon.
Okay, so this adapter, the Nikon F mount to Z mount adapter
is scheduled to be
is going to be $330 before taxes, import costs, and all that stuff, depending upon where you live. So probably paying $375 ish. Let's go to the
As for the
live.
scheduled release, so for those of you who need the interpretation, please set the channel to 1. And please be aware that some time lag may occur due to simultaneous interpretation in 3 languages.
Okay, and now we have.
We announced Nikon's groundbreaking mount system. What was your impression?
Okay, and now the next one is just to hear from a paid photographer, or as one of our favorite YouTubers would say, Shillsville. So we have a photographer coming to talk right now about their usage with the Z cameras. But let's go over some of the facts that we have that. Okay, let's see if this is, because I'm lazy. I don't want to.
Welcome, Tamara and Rob. Thank you for joining us.
I can tell this is just blowing up right now.
Share their impression after having actually used the new products. Please have a seat. Okay, first let's hear from Tamara. Tamara is a Nikon USA ambassador working in the field of portrait and lifestyle photography. She's
Okay, I don't really care to hear about the ambassadors.
for authentic images, including portraits of children and her
So let's go ahead.
humanitarian work, all started from personal projects.
Let's put this bad boy to mute. Let's talk about the specs. Okay, guys? I want some comments here. Let's talk. Okay, first, let's talk about the newly announced Z6 and the Z7. I'm going to use the Nikon Rumors breakdown page of the specs just because they are now confirmed. But the Z7, the specs on the Z7, which is aimed directly at the A7R3, 45.7 megapixels, 493 phase detection autofocus points. It's going to be a hybrid AF contrast detect autofocus system. with that resolution, we're still going to have 9 frames per second, and we're going to have a viewfinder with a resolution of 3.6 million dots, or quad VGA. We're going to have a 2.1 meter touch screen, and we're going to have 5-axis in-body image stabilization, which the Sony IBIS is good, but because of Nikon having a bigger physical mount, right, they are going to be able to have better image stabilization. 5 stops is big, okay? The image stabilization on the A6500 isn't bad, but on my OMD EM1 Mark I that I had back in the day, it was better. So, wow, right? Now, next up, which is something that I'm really, really interested to see that Nikon is doing this, is they are giving you the full video capabilities, even with the higher megapixel count. So I doubt this is a full readout, obviously, right? The way Sony does it. So I don't know how sharp the 4K video could be in this case, right? Because we are having some compromises in regards to the sensor size, but on the Z6, which is going to be 24 megapixels, we are also going to have the full 4K video capabilities with 422 10-bit out via HDMI. And then we're also going to have internal recording to the XQD card. Let's just check back on this. Okay. Still shills talking. But back to talking about the Z7. It's going to use the Nikon ENEL15B battery, and I'm kind of worried about that. I am already hearing people complaining about the battery, but the ENEL15 is an older battery. It was the battery that was used in my D750, and it would be interesting to see the kind of battery life they get out of it. These Sony batteries they die really fast, but Nikon is using the ENEL15, which is really nice to see that they're bringing this new product to market with backwards compatibility for batteries, because that means that all the pros out there aren't going to have to switch to a newer battery. But the fact that these batteries aren't being designed with the capacity for use with a mirrorless application would worry me a little bit, okay? We see that Sony saw the error in their ways, brought a new battery to market. People complained because it was more expensive. Nikon is taking the Nikon approach, which would be to have backwards compatibility with their current batteries. So Nikon is placing an emphasis on compatibility within the Nikon ecosystem, which is really a nice, refreshing approach to see. The fact that there isn't more legacy Sony glass that is reasonably priced kind of makes you always look towards third party first. But to talk about the Nikon Z6, the Nikon Z6 is going to be there direct at the throat of the A7 III, consumer, and the Z6 is going to be, at least if they can do the full sensor readout the way Sony does for their A6500 and A7S II, where they have the full sensor readout and then it scales the version down, I don't know the technical term, to 4K resolution. That is why the Sony video comes out pretty sharp. And that's also part of the reason why the cameras overheat, right? Is because there's a lot of image processing that has to go on to do that scaling on the computational side. But if Nikon is giving us like the full sensor readout and then 422 10-bit uncompressed video via HDMI with, and Nikon, I said this in my videos leading up to this, right, about my wish list, was I wanted to see Nikon with a true log profile, okay? And today they announced N-Log, which is going to be obviously Nikon's color, newly announced mid-tone boosting color science, plus a logarithmic compression to it, which gives you greater flexibility in post. But at least to me, right, as a video person who used to shoot Nikon, I love Nikon, I hate Nikon, all the above. I now shoot Sony. This isn't this. I don't take this as like me hating on or shitting anything that Nikon's doing, right? But if Nikon were not to have announced 5 stops of in-body image stabilization, if Nikon didn't announce their full frame 4K video, if Nikon didn't announce the ability to do 10-bit 422 via HDMI to record, if Nikon didn't announce that they were going to be developing all of their new lenses with an emphasis on reducing focus breathing, if Nikon didn't announce all these things, I wouldn't be so pumped up, right, for the future of Nikon and the future of these mounts, right? Because there would be nothing that tells me that Nikon is now going to take video more seriously, right? So the fact that Nikon announced all of this development, all of these things that to a video speaker or to a video shooter speaks, I'm serious about taking video seriously, kind of moving forward with the next models, I would have reason to believe that if Nikon's making a camera to compete with the A7R, the A7 III, why wouldn't they be doing something for the A7S III? Is that too soon for me to speculate on a Z5 or some other camera that would be coming from Nikon with full frame 4K video, less megapixels? Do you guys think that the current Z6 is going to be the best camera for video that Nikon does? Let's check back with the update. We have a demonstration of Nikon's new 8K time-lapse with what sounds like a little Kygo.
Yeah, it's great to get to play with it.
Yeah, so this is the video capabilities being demonstrated of these new cameras, and it's a lot of time-lapse stuff. It's interesting. But the fact that Nikon is implementing the 8K time-lapse is pretty cool.
Thank you very much. So we just watched Tokyo Seamless. It was shot entirely on the Nikon Z7. I'd like to take a look behind the scenes to see how the Z7 performs in a real-world shoot. So the scene we're going to look at.
Now we have a
involves
real
bunny.
world
Now in the heat
usage.
of the Tokyo summer, you really have to feel for the person inside this costume. So it also involves our lead talent, and we're going to call her Alice. So on a normal shoot, I'd be on the ground here with these guys, but this wasn't the case on this production. Tokyo Seamless was all about capturing Alice as a small detail meandering through a really big landscape.
Now
So
we're
I have
talking about
four
the
cameras filming
landscape.
here simultaneously with varying focal lengths. We can't see them, unfortunately, as being a prototype. We had to hide them, and you can see these little camera hats here hiding them. My grandma knitted them for me, so I'd say thank you, Grandma, at this point. But anyway, let's go into the next shot. The scene is shot with 4 cameras simultaneously here. So our master shot is a 14mm shot that we see here. It's our wide master shot. We then have 2 details, left and right here. These are shot at 70mm on the new 2470. And then if we go way in, we've got a 500mm shot, capturing the moment Alice and Bunny meet. So image quality is a really big draw for my work. The ability to resolve small details makes complex sequences like this possible. The smaller size of both the cameras and lenses was also a big plus on the shoot. I could pack 3 or 4 bodies and lenses and still travel much lighter than usual. So let's take a
So now
look at
he's
the
trying to
final
talk about
location
packing
now.
lighter with these new
we're back on
bodies,
the
which
ground. This is filming on a tripod. This is the moment Alice and Bunny meet. It's filmed at 105mm at f1.4 using the f-mount lens adapter. I mean, I was shooting with a tiny depth of field here for multiple takes. Face detection focusing nailed the focus every time.
now he's talking about how
In
great
all,
the camera's phase
I
text.
spent 2 weeks filming Tokyo Seamless, filming over 26 locations. I used multiple lenses, both the new Z mount and the existing F mount lenses. I shot a mixture of video and over 100,000 stills. I mean, I have to argue it out with the Nikon guys, but I think I might have taken more pictures with this camera than anyone else. Or at least I hope so. Tokyo Seamless is testament to the fact that this camera delivered, and I very much look forward to using it on future projects.
Thank you, Rob. So, do you have any comments about Rob's amazing shooting style?
Yeah, that was fantastic. I've been lucky enough to see that film a few times, and every single time I see it, I notice something different, which I think is so cool. One of the things I had the thought about in terms of noticing the video capabilities, and especially the face detection, which people have been raving about. The few photographers I know who've shot it, I cannot wait to start using it more like that.
So you might try something new as well.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So from both of your presentation, it was very clear that you had a wonderful experience with this new Z. I'm sure the fans watching on the broadcast are even more excited to use it for themselves. So let's wait for that. On behalf of Nikon users, what
I'm gonna clean my Sony gear while we watch this together.
Tamara?
Well, certainly it's going to be something I'm using heavily in my portrait and travel photography, and it'll actually be my primary camera for my travel photography and my humanitarian work, simply for the ease and amazing optics combination.
Brilliant. How about yourself, Rob?
I mean, I just can't wait to get my hands on it and have a play. I mean, in a shooting environment, delivering a project was very sort of intense and about kind of focusing on the things I knew would work. So yeah, it's more about what I don't know about it and, you know, getting to use it and play around it and, you know, really be creative with it.
Brilliant. We're looking forward to your new pieces in the future as well. Thank you so much. Tamara Lucky and Rob Whitworth, thank you so much.
Now he's had the paid shells.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our guest talk session. Please give them a big round of applause again. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, Rob.
I hope everyone uses a rocket blower before they clean their lenses.
同時中継での配信はもう
And I always leave the clean.
So our live streaming will now conclude.
So the
To all
live
photography
stream
fans who
is
tuned in
over.
around the blog, please look forward to the world of Z, which Nikon will be bringing to you shortly. Thank
Okay.
you for staying with us to the end.
So Nikon has just finished announcing their new mirrorless cameras. It's now live. No, not live on the Nikon website yet. Not live on the Nikon website yet. Let's see if it's on their Facebook. Video autofocus. Hey, Rob. So the video autofocus, at least for the Nikons, it's going to be 90% frame coverage. It's going to be a phase detection system. Sorry, I didn't see your comment at 11:53. But to go ahead and address that, Nikon is going to have their... yeah, no, still not up. So Nikon still hasn't put that on here yet. Only 500 people watching live. Huh. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's talk about it. I want to know what you guys have to say. Let's check Nikon rumors. And let's go ahead and check. Nikon rumors is going to crash. Gizmodo. Oh, no. News. Okay, so let's talk about the lens roadmap, right? Just to give you guys an idea, I was doing a breakdown of what these lenses are going to cost upon release, and it appears as if, and before you guys blast me, these are ridiculously cheap filters. That sometimes ruin my image quality, to be honest. So, lens roadmap. This year, for the rest of the year, they're going to be releasing the 24-70 f4. They're going to be releasing the 35 and the 51.8s. These lenses, as covered, are going to have an emphasis on their versatility for both video and photo. In the press release, Nikon commented that the new lenses were engineered to reduce focus breathing as well as smooth iris control during video. And this is going to be for all of the upcoming S lenses, for the S line. Now, that's their new line. So their new line of lenses has been engineered with versatility in mind. Great to see. Sony lenses are great too. I love my Sony system. And it's nice to see that Nikon is doing something to challenge that. Okay, the Nikon 50mm 1.8 is going to cost $750 approximately upon release. And that's what the conversion was. $750 for a 50mm 1.8. Which again, this seems like they're copying Sony's strategy, because how much is the Sony 55mm 1.8 Zeiss that was launched a while back when the A7 series was announced? It's about $750. So Nikon obviously is aware of their competition for these lenses, being Sony, and their roadmap looks really similar to Sony, with the inclusion of the 35mm, which is nice. I'm going to keep on cleaning my Sony gear as we talk about Nikon. In 2019, we're going to have the 58.95 Noct, and this is going to be kind of a halo lens for Nikon. And it's going to have the Sony Zeiss style digital readout for the focus scale. So again, Nikon copying Sony. I said that before, and I'm gonna stick to that. We're gonna have a 20mm 1.8 from Nikon. I'm excited about that lens. I had a 20mm 1.8 lens for my f-mount system, and I loved it. I would be curious if the 20mm 1.8S is going to be similar optical construction, or if it's going to be using the same lens elements. But it sounds like a really cool, unique lens that Nikon can introduce, right, and save some money on the introduction. Oh, I didn't know that I can do the spot metering with the video. That is cool. Okay, we're gonna have the 20mm. We're gonna have the 85mm 1.8 from Nikon as well. The 85mm, I'm sure is gonna be priced identical to this 85mm from Sony, and if it performs as well, then it's going to be a great lens. I love my Sony one. I am interested to see, and a question that did not get answered in this video was what the level, and this is something that wasn't even touched on by the guest speakers. They didn't talk about using the cameras in wet, damp, or adverse conditions. Interesting. Very interesting. It would be nice to know what is going to be the level of weather sealing on these Nikon cameras that are, or the Nikon lenses that are going to be getting released, especially the lower model ones. As you guys can see, this is my Sony 85mm 1.8. Oh, let's get that bad boy in focus, right? You guys notice anything about the Sony 85mm 1.8? Yeah, no weather sealing. No weather sealing. Sony gives you a great, phenomenal, stupendous 85mm 1.8 lens at a very, very reasonable price. And they do not weather seal it. I live in Vietnam, guys. It rains. And I still haven't gotten a blowjob in cargo shorts, even though I'm in Nam. I just don't really wear cargo shorts. Jokes aside, let's go back to talking about the roadmap. In 2019, we are going to have a 24-70 2.8 and a 70-200 2.8. So Nikon is delaying the launch and the R&D on what would be the holy trinity of lenses, being a 24-70, 70-200, and some type of ultra wide zoom. Nikon is delaying that in favor of bringing smaller, compact, full-frame lenses, such as the 20, the 85, the 50, the 35, and then in 2020 they're going to be bringing a 50 1.2, and as Nikon already said, they would be continuing to support and release the development of 1.2 glass. And I'd be curious to see what price point they can do that at, because what they wouldn't shut up about being their new lens mount and all of the optical freedom that they had to go ahead and give us these super fast lenses. Easier, right? Does easier equal cheaper? Or am I still going to pay a kidney, an arm, and a leg to get my hands on one of these 1.2 lenses? Even though it's easier for Nikon to engineer, as Nikon would say. we're getting a 24 millimeter 1.8. We're getting a 14 to 24 2.8. Now, for everyone who has accused me of being a Nikon hater, okay, I could see myself, if Nikon comes out with a lower megapixel video-oriented body, I could see myself making a switch, picking up the 35, the 50, the 20, the 85, and maybe the 24. You just have a nice set of prime lenses, but, and here's a big but, right? I think the A6700 that's going to be coming out is going to be better for video. I'm going to come out right out and say that. I think that the Sony A6700 is going to have 4K 60. I think it's going to have better IBIS. I think it's going to overheat like crazy because Sony loves to give you a half-baked product. But I think it might be better for video. The other thing is that full frame is phenomenal. Full frame has a great look. But right now in my life, I ride motorcycles. I have a girlfriend that travels a lot, so I'm doing trips. And having the freedom to go away and in this camera bag, this is a fake Crumpler camera bag. If you guys want to hear about finding fake camera accessory shopping in Vietnam, I could do a YouTube video about that. But I can fit my 85 in here, my 16 or my 30 mil here. I can fit my 12 millimeter next to it. And then on the camera, I can have whatever other lens I want to bring, right? And that gives me ultra wide, wide, I guess normal being a 50 millimeter or close equivalent, and then a 135. I have a Nikon 50 millimeter. To all my Nikon people out there, y'all remember this? Where are my Nikon fans out there? To all the people that say I hate Nikon, I'm a Sony fanboy. Oh, you're such a Sony fanboy. Okay. You guys remember this bad boy? The 50 millimeter 1.4 AFD Nikkor lens. It's got tons of chromatic aberration, but look at how sexy and filthy that lens element is. Maybe I should sell this lens and get the Sony 50 millimeter 1.8 because I would probably use it a lot more than I use this. And I like the 50 millimeter focal length on crop. It's like an 85 equivalent. Well, it's a 75, but it serves about the same purpose, at least for me. I'd love to get the Sony 50 1.8 or 55 1.8 size, but it's just too expensive. I might. Should I sell this? I want to know right now. Should I sell my 50 1.8 and buy the Sony? I don't use this lens ever. Hey, but now it's clean. Okay. Let's head back to Nikon rumors. And let's talk about why this announcement, at least to me, is kind of important. We have some stuff from DP Review. So we have the full announcement right now on the Nikon Z series cameras. Whoa, what, come on. Okay. So, it is live on Nikon's website. So we've got a video, we've got some images right here of what the magnesium alloy chassis looks like. And this bad boy is beefy. Beefy. So it's covering the Nikon flange distance. So the 5-axis optical VR is built right into the Z series cameras for up to 5 stops of imaging stabilization when using Nikon Z lenses, and up to 3-axis VR when using F-mount lenses. So it seems as if with the new F-mount glass, part of the reason that Nikon is using this larger mount is so that they have more room for in-body image stabilization. Because if you're not using a Z-mount lens, you're only going to have 3 stops of in-body image stabilization, which is better than nothing. It's better than nothing. So for the video front, for the new Z, we have silky smooth, near silent AF with automatic switching between phase detect and contrast detect AF. I don't know why, like I said, I'm cleaning my Sony gear while we talk about Nikon. So, I don't know why you'd want to switch between contrast and phase detect, to be honest with you guys. I don't know of something. Okay, new N-Lock, preserve maximum detail, 8K time lapse, 10-bit output via HMI, record uncompressed footage with 64 times more color directly into an external capture device. And the fact that this is full frame 4K, it beats anything that Canon has right now. Okay? And the other thing is that Canon's own line of cinema cameras are not full frame. They are APS-C Super 35. Okay? Their cinema line is not full frame. I know what you're going to say. A lot of cameras aren't full frame for video. You're right. A lot of them aren't. But if you want, or if you like that full frame look as a creative option for video, okay, there is not a better full frame 4K video camera right now at the price point that Nikon has. Even if the autofocus is meh, because if you're a real creative video professional, you're probably using manual focus quite a bit. But full frame 4K video, 10-bit uncompressed raw, or not raw, but 4K uncompressed via the HDMI out. So you'll be able to monitor and transfer JPEG, RAW, or video via Wi-Fi. And it's going to maintain compatibility with Nikon's speedlights. Guys, this is a big win for Nikon. If the camera doesn't fall flat on its face, Nikon shooters are in for a very expensive but very promising roadmap. Maybe in 4 years, 5 years, I'll still be here on YouTube, but if I'm still doing this video thing like I want to be doing it, maybe I'll return to Nikon. I'm not announcing it, but I'm saying that we got a possibility of me returning back to Nikon with the cameras that were announced today. Take you outside real quick, show you I'm out.